Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Jacquelene and this is Soulstar Radio on the A1R Psychic Network, just in case you wondered. So today I've been having a lot of fun with a range of different things that have happened, some of which I can tell you, some I have to wait. But let's just say that I ran down Toorak Road in South Yarra, with a bit of a kind of maybe a fluffy giraffe kind of movement. It's kind of excited, but, anyway, life goes on. Now, this last week in readings, I've had a lot of ladies who are going through stuff, and it's like, wow, there we go again. Look at that. Okay. And so it's kind of like I've got this wonderful Twitter feed I found, which I'm going to go through with you just quickly. Oh, hi, Linda from Indianapolis, Roxanne. Maybe my husband will come through. Yep. Samantha Louise. Hello from Melbourne. Yes. And Audrey's back. Might be a different Audrey. We've got lots of Audreys here. Audreys are great. We love Audreys because it kind of, I've been through this whole thing of it reminding me of Audrey Hepburn. But I'm going to find this Twitter feed. Actually rather liked it. And it's actually really descriptive of the stuff that's been going on that I've been trying to talk about women going around the cycle with these guys. And it's like, oh, but he's back and I'm getting all these synchronicities about him and I see his name. And I'm like, yep, okay. Circling the drain right now. So you can get synchronicities that mean you're meant to be together. You can just get synchronicities that guy is one toxic dude or that you are just toxic together. And you can be just but I'm feeling him. And I'm like, yep, okay, we're all feeling him. So it's Polly Nor on Twitter, and it's POLLYNOR. And it says, you don't know him like I do. And it's this red sea monster. He kind of looks like mealworms, only red. And she's like, oh, and her friend's going, oh, God, again? Have you not been through that with your girlfriend who might be sort of stuck to some guy? And it's like, what the heck is going on here? You've got to see this Twitter thread. There are like 89,000.1. So 89,100. Let's get it up to 90,000, shall we? Likes on this Twitter thread. And it's the best because some guys, and look, for guys, seriously, some girls and even some guys, and for some women, some other women, just have this hypnotic, mesmerizing effect, but then so do vampires. So, it's sort of this on and on. I sometimes call it rotisserie. If you imagine that person who's charismatic but toxic is kind of like the hot coals at the bottom of the rotisserie, and you are one of the chickens on the rod of chickens. And there are many rods of chickens going around and around and around. There's hypnotism again on the rotisserie. And each time the rod of chickens sort of passes on top of the hot coals, it's like, whoa, hi, baby. And yeah, and you sort of go, what is she doing listening to that? Like, okay, we're not actually dead chickens. I hope not anyway. I mean, we're talking. You're hearing me. I'm with you. I think we might be sentient beings and not actually chickens on a stick. But, if you're finding that, you're one of many chickens on the rotisserie, it's probably time to maybe get out of that little basting oven. And so as each rod of chicken sort of gets taken off because they're cooked, the fire keeps going around, there's less chickens, and eventually there might be one or two, and it's like, oh, you don't want to be that last one or two chickens. But I really like how at the very end of this Twitter thread, and, and here's the girlfriend, she's like, oh, no, the drama's still following me, and see the red dudes coming out of the toilet? It's like, oh, look, there's more of those things coming up. But eventually they kind of get freed from this. And I really like how at the end, and there's another woman involved, of course, isn't there always? And, and then they tie up the sea monster and they're all heading back into safe harbour. And at the very end, I have to show you that picture first. At the very end, they're charging an admission fee to see Exhibit A. the sea monster. So eventually the women kind of band together and they're charging an admission to see the funny sea monster that once was probably one of their biggest nightmares, really. And so, you know, that can happen for guy-guy relationships, girl-girl relationships, you know, a guy relationship with a girl. It's really not a gender thing, although the Gillette ad would be kind of an interesting statement right now, except I think we could get into all sorts of, well, I think it'd be fun, but I don't think you guys are going to like it. So, you know, it's just really very important when we're looking at restoring relationships and getting back exes. It's like, do you really want to? You know, it's like, how many more times are they going to do that to you before you say, do you know what, I don't need to go through this? That's my sort of statement here. And actually someone said about, will my relationship be restored? So, you know, before you go thinking of that, and with some of the ladies I've had this week, and even a guy, you know, having this recurring on-off relationship and, oh, but I love them, but bleh. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. They're really interested in you while you're not available. As soon as you become emotionally available to them, they're like not interested. They're running for the hills. They're probably going and seeing someone else, you know. Maybe that could happen. In some cases, I think it was. But, you know, so when that's happening and someone's not emotionally available to you and you're not being really honest with each other, it's sort of time to go, do you know, I think we've been around the rotisserie enough times now. I think we've basted the juices enough. So it might be time to change your dietary supplement in a roundabout fashion of speaking. And if that doesn't work, or if you've actually broken free of a relationship, you're like, oh, but, you know, it's hurting, ouch, ouch. Christina Perri has a song called Jar of Hearts. I rather like it. I'm going to read it out rather than sing it because it's in a key that, unless I've got the music going, my voice won't do it justice. So I'm going to read this out. I know I can't take one step more towards you because all that's waiting is regret. Don't you know I'm not your ghost anymore? You lost the love I love the most. I learned to live half alive, and now you want me one more time. Don't they always? Who do you think you are, running around leaving scars, collecting your jar of hearts and tearing love apart? You're going to catch a cold from the ice inside your soul. So don't come back to me. I'm going to shorten this. Don't come back at all. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? So, you know, value yourself first, main message. You know, think about who you are, not them. And focus on loving you, being kind to you, perhaps hula hooping, you know, lighting candles, having your hair dyed, whatever it takes. Maybe playing the Tibetan bowl. You know, there's lots of fun things you can do. I also suggest that perhaps taking up a little bit of MMA boxing might not go astray, possibly Tai Chi for the gentler people amongst us, or just basically, you know, flushing it away with love. The hardest things and the heaviest things often take the longest to flush anyway, but it's still worth flushing them, isn't it? So with that said, and enough about flushing, we actually have a call on the line, and we're going to enjoy that energy. We have the wonderful Nicole in Kennewick in Washington, USA. Are you there, Nicole?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, darling. It's lovely to hear from you. You have such a vibrant and bright energy, and I'm seeing a lot of really strong emerald green going on with you, which kind of, you know, is the polar opposite to my colour of hair at the moment. I'm really feeling like, you know, a lot of new growth, a lot of healing, and a lot of work on your heart going on here. And I really feel it's all about having space for you at the moment and making sure that you're allowing new things and to keep growing those new things. So where you're feeling like you're drawn to try something new, take a new direction, I would definitely be saying it's a really expansive time for you to be able to do that at the moment and to really run with it. But if I can start with your date of birth, I can get right into a reading for you, darling.
It's April 22nd, 1990.
Love it. Your year of the metal horse in the Chinese astrology, and I do feel with you that you can be very much about getting other people started. You're very much someone who is motivating other people, and there tends to be a start-stop energy to when you're trying to do things. But I do feel as if this year has a whole new vibe for you where you're going to be looking at the fork in the road, looking at what you're wanting to change, looking around partnership as well, and looking at how you can do things nicer for you, more cleanly in some way, and I feel in some way also taking charge. So I'm sort of excited about that. But was there a question, an area you wanted me to look at for you today, darling?
Probably my relationship. We have been together for about 7 years, and we've had a really rocky financial struggle, and we've just gone through a lot together, but we're trying to kind of work towards buying a house and just emotionally being better together. I don't know. I'm just hoping things are headed in the right direction finally.
With you guys, I actually feel like it is, and I'm kind of really, you can't believe how relieved to be speaking with you, because I've been having a lot of people this week that are going in quite an opposite direction to where you're going, and I do feel you are actually openly communicating with each other a lot more and a lot clearer now. And there's been a lot of work on that, if that makes sense to you so far. And I really feel as if it's just going to be this case of continuing to communicate, continuing to open your heart to each other in the way you're speaking. And both of you have changed some of the ways that you're communicating disappointment or confusion or, when you're getting irritated. You're getting really good at being able to say things in a way that are not blaming of each other. And you really are a great example of how to actually heal a relationship. And there's that emerald green we were talking about before, that healing, that clearing, the newness. So I do feel we're going to get on top of this financially. I do feel also that it's about looking at your joint purpose now. And I feel as if I just want to use the words focus and to stay on track with that. You've taken a lot of courage towards a relationship together, and that's actually paying out now. And I really think the next 3 years, I'm very excited about where that ends up, because there's a lot more stability coming into this, not less. It's a big year for partnerships, so you'll find yourself really looking at, how to grow stronger together. And might I say, probably the most important thing is to be a united front together, particularly where we've got other people with their opinions coming into this, and particularly around extended family who mean well and do want the best for you, but maybe some of their advice, some of the things I have to say, they intend them positively, but it's not coming across positively. And I'm kind of reminded to just, to say to you to keep up the good work, but to present a united front to do with dealing with other people around this, because it's important to make sure that they're clear about where the two of you are heading. In the past, there used to be one of you would go off and speak part of what was happening, not all of it, and then extended family are advising based on the part that they're hearing, not the whole picture that's not being said. Whereas nowadays, you two are actually talking a lot more together about things and resolving it then and there, rather than bringing other people into it. And that's making it easier to get along and making it easier to plan for the future now. So I do feel we're going to get there. It takes enthusiasm, it takes positivity, and it takes remaining compassionate, I guess, to other people, meaning well, and having compassion towards them meaning well, but maybe not knowing what's best for you. So it's really important to talk to each other first and foremost. Make sure you're being each other's best friend, because that's what's making this solid. And being unafraid to talk about the difficult stuff. I think you've gotten through a lot of hurdles to get clearer on how to now do that. And really in the last 6 months, you're a lot closer than you have been at different points there. You're both maturing now. And that level of maturing that's coming into this is making it a lot easier, to be able to take the next steps that you're going to. So I just want to urge you to remember to always make the two of you the first relationship, the most important relationship. And when we come to later on children, some women and, some guys, but some parents can get very locked into loving their children first. And that's where we can go astray, because the most important relationship actually in the home is actually between the two parents, because that's what's going to be the glue that holds the rest of it together. So if the two of you are united together there and giving each other time and giving each other space and then having space with just the two of you, then it's much easier to be fully present for your children and to go the distance in a relationship. And where people get lost is they get lost in other things. They get lost in other people. They get lost in other hobbies. They get lost in work. And they get bit by bit by bit lost and away from each other until there is no us. And it's just really important to remember to make the two of you, the us, the most important thing in this. And everything else can come, some of it obviously a very close second. But you do need to put the other stuff second. And that's what I think's really in part changed in the last 6 months in how you're dealing with each other. We've refocused, and that's what's going to help you with this in the future. So I do feel you're going to get there. I do feel we're getting a house. I feel like we're moving a long way. I'm just not sure if that's already happened just recently or whether that's happening in the next couple of years. But I do feel we actually do end up moving quite a way away from where we're living right now. And that's part of this new adjustment in life and something to do with work changing dramatically in a positive way. But, as a result, we have to make this geographic move that's quite large. I'm just not sure if you're aware of that at this point in time, but that is what I'm seeing coming up for you, whether you're aware of it yet or not. Are you aware of that so far?
No, but my husband is doing an electrical apprenticeship, so it's a possibility.
I'm seeing it. When you said that, I was seeing even more of it. So once that apprenticeship's finished, I think, we're really going to be going for it. And I'm really excited about how solid that makes the two of you, because once he's settled in his career, and there are some changes to his career there, it's like he finishes his apprenticeship and then there's some other change to the work he's doing. Within the work itself, but I do feel that it's going to require a geographic shift, and that's actually going to be quite good for the both of you, because it's quite solid after that. I don't have to worry about how you two end up because it's like we're on the right track at that point in time. So I hope that helps you today, and I send you all of my love. Now I'm going to go across to Sharon in Kings Mountain, Kentucky. Are you there, Sharon?
Yes.
Hello, and thank you for calling in. It's lovely to speak with you, darling. Was there a question you wanted me to look at for you today?
Yes, ma'am. I have been trying to find a friend that we think might have died. His name is Peter Jung, and he's from Colorado Springs, Colorado. We can't find him. We have looked and searched. Somebody told us that he died, but we don't feel that he did. And if you could help.
I'm definitely feeling a disconnect there in a sense. So he's cut right off from everyone. And I'm just trying to understand why I keep getting the number 3 with this and what that's quite about. For a case like this situation, I would probably really work with a photograph of the person, their date of birth, last date of sighting or where. And if I had the time, date and location of birth, that's even better. If it's just the date of birth, that's fine. To work on that properly, and I would probably do that off air. Particularly in missing persons cases, I take them incredibly seriously. And what I have to do when I'm working on those sorts of situations is, I work on that without interference from what other people are picking up or trying to pick up or think they're picking up, or and you can also, in missing persons cases, get situations where you've got a lot of feedback coming from religious groups and this sort of thing, to have to sort of work through as well. And I look at the footsteps a person's taken, and depending on how long they've been missing, there can be a lot of other imprints over top of those footsteps. So where someone has been, and then watching other people walk past there after they've been there. So you don't just see that person walking, in my case, when I go into a place. But I can do that remotely for you if you want to contact me through going onto the website, which is soulstar.media. And if you have trouble with that, just go on to Jacquelene Closemore on Google and you'll find me. But if you want to contact me through that, that's probably going to be your best means of doing that, rather than the small amount of time we would have to do that on air live.
You don't have anything
I'm sorry.
spiritual on him?
Well, to work on it, as I've explained to you, I need to work the way that I work with that. I don't really do that as a live call-in so much. And I understand that you have gone into a queue to try to get this answered. But for me to appropriately deal with that and give it the seriousness that it deserves for that kind of situation, where it's a missing persons case, that's where I would really work on it to get the best for you in this situation, because I have to sort of do that justice. And I have worked on missing persons cases for families, particularly in Australia, and families of missing people, the families in Australia and the persons missing overseas, and been able to bring information that actually was confirmed through CCTV footage, as well as things that were not reported in the media. And I insist on a media black man. When I'm working on that sort of thing, I actually have had to walk past cameras with, something over my head. When the family is being interviewed on live national television. So I sort of do have to handle it that way. That's how I work. Everyone works differently, but that is how I handle specifically cases like that. I don't do it for media, or for celebration of how I work. I do help people, but, that's my best way of helping you there, Sharon. So thank you for your call. I'm more than happy to help you off air. And so for those watching who wonder about psychics answering things, what I don't do is go onto Facebook missing persons pages and troll through the listings of, who's missing and what's happened to them, where they were last and all this sort of thing. And sometimes I get tagged in posts like that and I say, look, sorry, this is not appropriate for me, because I actually want as little information about the person as possible, and I'll work within specific guidelines of that. So I want a photograph of them. I don't want news clippings. I'll have their name, their date of birth, time of birth, location of birth, if they've got it, or just the date of birth, and then when and where they went missing, because there's an aspect of astrology called horary astrology. There's also an aspect of astrology called Sabian symbols. What I do is I look at the astrology of it after I've gotten my initial psychic impressions, and the impressions that I get and visions I get just stun me when I look at the astrology as to how the Sabian symbols relate exactly to what I've seen, and how they relate exactly to how the person's then found. And quite often when I'm asked to find missing people, quite often there's water involved, just out of interest. And as a 5.5-year-old, I actually drowned in a swimming pool, near-death experience, and came back. And, so quite often it can be really close to the bone, as to how that sort of happens and goes on. And it can be really interesting if you're looking at that sort of thing and you are helping out with that sort of thing. It can be interesting, the aspect between Pluto and Ceres. And also, we can bring Dark Moon Lilith into that, and she gets very interesting, particularly if the person has gone missing just wanting to break free. But Ceres, the old story of Ceres is Demeter, and Demeter is Persephone's mother. And Persephone's uncle, Hades, otherwise known as Pluto, kidnapped Persephone and took her to the underworld and said, here, eat the pomegranate. Persephone luckily only ate 6 seeds, and meanwhile Demeter, Ceres, who is like Mother Earth and Mother Nature, and she fertilizes the crops, and she went looking across the earth to try and find her daughter, and was grieving and not allowing anything to blossom and bloom, and not bringing sunlight, and so the plants in the fields all went dormant, and it wasn't until Persephone resurfaced from the underworld and got away from her uncle that that Ceres would allow the plants to once again bear fruit. And so this is how the story is that we get the seasons. But quite often in the case of missing persons cases, it can be an interesting relationship between the planet Pluto in the astrology chart by transit by natal, and also Ceres, the asteroid. So when you're looking at astrology, don't just look at the planets, particularly with missing persons cases, using horary astrology, but also using the Sabian symbols, also using asteroids, because they can tell you so very much. And it can be frightening how exact that can be, even down to the timing of when someone will be found, that and the location and the symbolism around that. And, I've worked on those sorts of cases, and I will never talk publicly about those cases. It's just not what I do. I do handle them very much with care, and I don't go out seeking that kind of thing. I actually don't charge for that particular type of work. Everything else I charge for, my time, but that one is one I don't charge for, and I do not allow media speculation about which cases or what, and I don't entertain it. But I'm more than happy to help if you have a genuine case, and you need to reach me, privately. I welcome you to do that. In the meantime, on a much lighter subject, I'll be back next week. I want you to all think of, how to rebirth things in your life, how to find yourself again, rather than to get lost in the fog of things. And I wish you the very best. In the meantime, until I catch you next week, lots of love and light, and have a beautiful week. Thank you.